While I was at work, my parents moved my children's belongings to the basement, saying, "Our other grandson deserves the best rooms." When I came home to find my kids in tears, I smiled and said, "Pack your bags." My parents never saw what was coming. This isn't just a story about family. It's about a raw, gut-wrenching betrayal that forced me to see my own parents in a horrifying new light. It was a cruel, public declaration of who truly mattered in our family, and it ripped a hole through my heart, making me realize just how much I'd been willing to overlook. My name is Amanda. I'm 35 and a mom to the most incredible 10-year-old twins, Jack and Emma. 2 years ago, after my divorce, our lives were turned upside down. David, my ex-husband, had been the main earner. Suddenly, I was a full-time pediatric nurse, scrambling to keep us afloat. My parents, Martha and Richard, offered their home. "Just until you get back on your feet," my dad promised, patting my shoulder. Despite our complicated history, I was always the responsible one. Stephen, my younger brother, the golden child. I was so incredibly grateful. Stephen, at 32, was the family's golden boy. He dropped out of college, started a tech business my parents funded, and was now making 6 figures. Me, I'd put myself through nursing school for 8 long years, specializing in pediatrics because I just loved working with kids. My path wasn't flashy, but it was steady, honest. This favoritism, it was so deeply woven into our family fabric that, honestly, I barely noticed it anymore. My kids, though, were my everything. Jack, sensitive and creative, always drawing or building. Emma, my little athlete, outspoken and confident, always the first to stand up for what was right. They were doing so well, even after the upheaval of the divorce and the move. We settled into my parents' house. They converted their office for the twins. I took the guest room. I pulled 12-hour shifts at the children's hospital, often overnight, and my parents helped with school runs. My goal was simple: save enough for a security deposit and rent within a year. I scrimped, I saved, I picked up every extra shift I could. I was determined to give my kids stability again. Then Stephen and his wife Melissa had their baby boy, Ethan. And just like that, everything changed. My kids became invisible. It started subtly. My mother would cancel plans to help me with the twins if Stephen so much as hinted he needed something. "Your brother needs more support right now," she'd say. "He's new to parenting." The irony was a punch to the gut. I'd been a single parent for 2 years. At first, I tried to be understanding. New babies are exciting. Ethan was their first grandson after 10 years of Jack and Emma being their only grandchildren. Maybe it was just the novelty. I told my kids to be patient, to be kind. But the favoritism wasn't subtle for long. Christmas gifts for Ethan were noticeably more expensive. Comments about how Ethan looked just like Stephen as a baby, while Jack and Emma had always resembled their father. Each small slight, each dismissive word chipped away at me. I tried to overcompensate, creating special moments for us. Park trips, movie nights in my room. I even put up a savings chart on my bathroom wall, promising the kids we'd have our own home by Christmas. As spring bled into summer, the house grew thick with tension. My parents became hypercritical of my parenting, what I fed the twins, their bedtime, screen time. Yet Stephen and Melissa, even when they were hours late for dinner or canceled last minute, could do no wrong. I felt like I was walking a tightrope, desperately trying to shield my children from the blatant favoritism, all while needing my parents' help because I couldn't afford childcare on top of saving for our move. By late summer, my savings account was finally robust enough. 3 more months, I told myself. 3 more months of biting my tongue, reminding my children we were guests, watching my parents dote on Ethan while barely acknowledging Jack and Emma's achievements. I had no idea how much worse it would get. The situation exploded in September. Stephen called a family meeting. He and Melissa sat at the kitchen table, baby Ethan dressed in an outfit that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. "We've got exciting news," Stephen announced, looking only at my parents. We're finally doing that major renovation on our house. Melissa chimed in, bouncing Ethan. We'll need somewhere to stay during construction. Just 6 to 8 weeks. Before I could even breathe, my father was beaming. You'll stay here, of course. We have plenty of room. I cleared my throat. Actually, Dad, we're a bit tight already with the 5 of us. My mother shot me a look. Family helps family, Amanda. It's only temporary. And just like that, it was decided. No one asked me. No one considered Jack and Emma. No one acknowledged that our temporary stay was nearing 2 years. Stephen and Melissa moved in the following weekend. My father helped them set up Ethan's portable crib. He'd never offered to help assemble the twins' beds. My mother cleared an entire closet for Melissa's clothes, while mine had stayed in suitcases for months until I bought my own small dresser. The changes were immediate, jarring. Jack and Emma were constantly told to keep their voices down because Ethan is napping. Their limited toys were now clutter, constantly boxed away. The TV, their hour of after-school escape, was perpetually tuned to Melissa's shows. One evening, I found Emma on the back porch, crying. Grandma said I was too loud with my jump rope, she sniffled, but Ethan wasn't even sleeping. She just didn't want to hear me counting. The same week, Jack, beaming with pride, wanted to show my mother an art project chosen for a district exhibition. She waved him off. Not now, Jack. I'm helping Melissa pick out curtains for their house. I watched my son's face fall, and something inside me hardened. That night, after the kids were asleep, I tried to talk to my parents. I understand Stephen's family needs help, but I'm worried about how Jack and Emma are being treated. They feel unimportant. My father frowned. They're being oversensitive. Kids need to learn babies require more attention. My mother sighed dramatically. You always were jealous of your brother, Amanda. I thought you would have outgrown that by now. I was stunned into silence. Jealous sibling, not a concerned mother? The household became a minefield. Melissa rearranged my kitchen, complained about the healthy snacks I bought, and left her laundry in the machine for days. Stephen acted like he owned the place, inviting friends over without a thought. Then I overheard Stephen telling my father their renovation would be extended another 3 months. My father's reply, stay as long as you need. This is your home, too. My children and I were guests, but this was Stephen's home. The double standard was a bitter pill. The breaking point arrived at Sunday dinner in early October. My mother cooked all of Stephen's favorite foods, none of which my kids enjoyed. When Jack politely asked if there was anything else, my mother snapped, You're ungrateful. When I was growing up, we ate what was put in front of us. Later, Ethan threw his plate on the floor. Everyone laughed indulgently. He's just exploring his world. Melissa cooed, not bothering to clean it. The hypocrisy was so blatant, even Jack noticed. How come Ethan can throw food, but I can't ask for sandwich? He whispered to me. I had no answer. That week, I found Jack and Emma's artwork ripped off the fridge, replaced by a printout of Ethan's daycare schedule. I needed this information front and center, Melissa shrugged. My kids retreated to their small shared bedroom, their only sanctuary. I started taking them to the public library after school, just for some peace. My stress was palpable. During a difficult shift, my coworker Nancy noticed. Everything okay at home, Amanda? I poured out the whole story. Nancy listened, then said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. It sounds like your parents have created a household where your brother's family is treated as guests of honor, while you and your children are treated as inconvenient roommates. She was right. Hearing it out loud, I realized how normalized the dysfunction had become. That evening, I called a realtor friend. I need to get my kids out of this situation. I told her, sooner rather than later. By mid-October, things spiraled. Stephen's 6 to 8 week renovation was now indefinite. I came home one day to find my parents had bought a $400 high chair for Ethan. This after complaining about Jack's asthma medication, which my insurance only partially covered. "We want Ethan to be comfortable," my mother explained. "Jack needs to breathe," I shot back, unable to keep the edge from my voice. She looked at me as if I was being unreasonable. The fact that I covered all my kids' expenses and contributed to household bills, while Stephen and Melissa contributed nothing, seemed to completely escape her. Then, Emma was practicing her clarinet for band. Less than 15 minutes in, Melissa stormed in. "Can you not do that right now? Ethan's trying to nap, and I have an important call." Emma tearfully put her instrument away, having missed her virtual practice. I tried to talk to Melissa. "My work calls and Ethan's sleep have to take priority," she dismissed. "Emma can practice her little hobby anytime." My blood boiled. Emma's little hobby was her passion, her talent. But in this house, my children's passions were utterly insignificant. Jack was struggling too. His teacher emailed, concerned about his withdrawal, his grades. My sociable, enthusiastic son had become quiet, anxious. He admitted he was worried about doing anything wrong at home. "Grandma and Grandpa get mad at us for everything," he explained, "but they never get mad at Ethan or Uncle Stephen or Aunt Melissa." I picked up even more extra shifts, partly for money, partly to escape the suffocating tension. My parents saw it as shirking responsibility. Stephen and Melissa seemed glad to have me out of the way. The breaking point of all breaking points came during a family dinner in late October. My parents had invited extended family, including my Aunt Susan, who had always been kind to us. During dinner, my mother launched into an extended monologue about how gifted Ethan was at just 9 months. "He's trying to stand already. Stephen was an early walker, too. Some children just have that natural athletic ability." Then she turned to Jack. "It's too bad you didn't get that from your father's side. David was always athletic, wasn't he?" I watched Jack's face crumple. The implication was clear. Any good in my kids came from their father, or despite me, while Ethan's gifts were from Stephen's superior genetics. Aunt Susan caught my eye, her expression etched with concern. After dinner, she pulled me aside. "How long has it been like this?" she asked quietly. "Always to some degree," I admitted, "but it's much worse since Stephen's family moved in." "This is not healthy for your children, Amanda," she said, echoing Nancy. "They deserve better than to be treated as second-class members of their own family." Tears blurred my vision. "I'm working on it," I choked out. "I have a plan." And I did. In the weeks since talking to Nancy, I'd been secretly meeting my realtor friend. We found a small 3-bedroom house, 10 minutes from the hospital, in the Twin School District. The rent was at the very top of my budget, but I was approved. I'd signed the lease the previous week, keeping it a secret from everyone. The house would be available November 1st, just a week away. I'd been ordering essential furniture to be delivered then, setting up utilities. Aunt Susan squeezed my hand. "Let me know if you need anything." I've been concerned for some time. Her support was everything. I'd started to question my own perceptions, wondering if I was the jealous, oversensitive one. Her words gave me the final push. The next morning, I overheard Stephen and my father discussing even more permanent arrangements. "Another 3 months, Dad," Stephen said. "Honestly, with the baby, it might make more sense to just stay through the holidays." "You're always welcome," my father replied warmly. "This is your home." They'd completely forgotten my temporary status. The double standard was so glaring it would have been laughable if it wasn't breaking my children's hearts. That evening, I took the twins for ice cream. "I need you both to know something important," I told them. "No matter what Grandma and Grandpa say or do, you two are amazing, valuable people. The way they are treating you is not because of anything you have done wrong." Emma, ever perceptive, studied my face. "Are we going to move out soon?" I was stunned. "You've been working a lot more," she said, "and you seem different lately, less sad and more determined." Out of the mouths of babes. My daughter had seen the change in me before I fully acknowledged it myself. Just keep being your wonderful selves for a little bit longer, I told them. They both nodded, a flicker of hope in their eyes that had been missing for too long. When we returned, Melissa was loudly complaining about the twins' backpacks in the hallway, despite Ethan's stroller, diaper bag, and toys scattered everywhere. Children need to learn to pick up after themselves, she lectured me. I smiled tightly, helping my kids, reminding myself, just a few more days. I had no idea the situation was about to explode, forcing my hand even sooner. The following Tuesday, I was on a 12-hour shift. It was a crazy day. During my short lunch, I saw several missed texts. From Jack, Mom, something weird is happening. Grandpa and Uncle Stephen are moving our stuff. From Emma, Grandma says we have to move to the basement. This is not fair. From Jack, Mom, please come home. They took all our things downstairs. From Emma, I hate it here. The basement is cold and gross, and there are spiders. My heart hammered. I called home, no answer. My children's phones, nothing. Finally, I texted Emma. I'll be home as soon as I can. Stay calm. I love you both. My supervisor, seeing my face, arranged coverage. Even so, it took another hour to leave. The drive home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. The basement. The unfinished, poorly insulated basement with its occasional water seepage. I took a deep breath before walking inside. I needed to be calm. The scene confirmed my worst fears. Jack and Emma huddled on the living room couch, red-rimmed eyes. My mother and Melissa were in the kitchen, sipping tea as if nothing had happened. Stephen and my father were nowhere to be seen. What is going on? I asked, rushing to my kids. Emma threw her arms around me. They moved all our stuff to the basement without asking. They said we don't deserve the good rooms upstairs. Jack nodded miserably. Grandpa said Uncle Stephen's family needs more space because they're more important right now. I hugged them tight, my anger a cold, hard knot, but keeping my voice calm for them. Let me talk to Grandma. In the kitchen, my mother barely looked up. You're home early, she observed. Why are my children's belongings in the basement? I asked, my voice deadly quiet. Melissa sipped her tea. We needed to make some adjustments. Stephen and I need a nursery for Ethan, plus space for my home office now that my company has gone remote. So, you decided to move Jack and Emma to the unfinished basement without discussing it with me first? My mother finally met my eyes. It was the logical solution. The children are older and can adapt more easily than a baby. Besides, our other grandson deserves the best rooms. He's here all day while your children are at school. The casual cruelty of her statement took my breath away. My children deserve a safe, comfortable space just as much as Ethan does. Don't be so dramatic, Amanda, my mother dismissed. The basement is perfectly fine. We put their beds down there and everything. The basement has mold in one corner, it gets freezing cold at night, and the ceiling is unfinished. I pointed out, my voice rising. Not to mention, there's only one small window that doesn't even open properly. They'll manage, my mother said with finality. Family means making sacrifices. Apparently, in her mind, only my children should sacrifice, never Stephen's. At that moment, my father and brother walked in. Oh, good, you're home, my father said. We've made some changes we need to discuss. Yes, I can see that, I replied, fighting for control. You moved my children's belongings to the basement without my permission. Stephen shrugged. We need the space upstairs. Ethan is getting more mobile and needs room to develop properly. Plus, Melissa needs a quiet space for her work calls. And my children need a safe, appropriate bedroom. I countered. The basement is fine, my father said dismissively. I put in some extra lights and laid down some old carpet scraps. They should be grateful they have a place to stay at all. I stared at him, truly seeing him for the first time. This man who had raised me, who I had spent years trying to please, had just revealed exactly how little he valued me and my children. "Jack has asthma," I reminded them. "The basement is damp and has visible mold. It could trigger a serious attack." "You're overreacting as usual," Stephen said with an eye roll. "Kids are resilient. Melissa and I grew up in much worse conditions, didn't we, honey?" Melissa nodded, though I knew she'd grown up in a 5-bedroom house in an affluent suburb. I looked around at the 4 adults who had made this decision. None of them showed a hint of remorse or understanding. To them, this was perfectly reasonable. The golden child's family deserved the best. My children deserved whatever scraps were left over. I walked back to the living room where Jack and Emma waited, anxious, looking up at me with such trust, such hope that I would fix this. In that moment, something crystallized within me, a calm, absolute certainty about what needed to happen next. I smiled at them, a genuine smile despite the circumstances, and said 3 words that would change everything. "Pack your bags." They looked confused, but I just nodded encouragingly. "Trust me," I said. "Pack everything important to you. We'll get the rest later." My father had followed me. "Oh, for heaven's sake, Amanda, stop being so dramatic. No one is asking you to leave." I turned to him, still smiling. "No, Dad. You just made it abundantly clear where my children and I stand in this family, and we deserve better." "What are you talking about?" my father sputtered. "Go on, kids," I said gently. "Go pack your backpacks with your most important things. We'll come back for the rest tomorrow." As they hurried upstairs, my mother entered. "What nonsense is this now? You can't just leave because things didn't go your way." Stephen and Melissa followed, Ethan perched on Stephen's hip. The gang was all here for the showdown. "This is not about things not going my way," I explained calmly. "This is about basic respect and consideration, which has been sorely lacking in this household." "We've given you a roof over your head for nearly 2 years," my father exclaimed. "How dare you talk about lack of consideration?" "Yes, you have," I acknowledged, "and I have been grateful. I have also contributed financially, done most of the cooking and cleaning, and made sure my children respected your rules. But today you crossed a line." Melissa scoffed. "It's just a bedroom rearrangement. You're being ridiculously oversensitive." I turned to her. "Is that what you would call it if someone moved your child to an unsuitable space without consulting you first?" She had no answer. "The basement is perfectly adequate," my mother insisted. "We raised you and Stephen without all these special accommodations kids seem to need nowadays." "The basement has mold," I repeated. "Jack has asthma. It's also cold, damp, and has inadequate emergency exits. It is not a legal bedroom by any housing code standard." My father waved his hand dismissively. "Those codes are just government overreach." I almost laughed at the absurdity. Safety regulations were government overreach when they inconvenienced him. But I suspected he'd feel differently if he was the one being relegated to substandard accommodations. "Where exactly do you think you're going to go?" Stephen asked with a smirk. "It's not like you've been saving much. What with your spending habits?" And there it was, their fundamental misunderstanding. They saw me as financially dependent, irresponsible, despite all evidence. They truly believed I had no options, no agency, no ability to stand on my own. "That's where you're wrong," I said quietly. "I have been saving since the day I moved in here. I've been working extra shifts, building my emergency fund, and 3 weeks ago, I signed a lease on a house not far from here." The stunned silence was deeply satisfying. My mother recovered first. "You were planning to leave without telling us?" she asked, voice trembling with manufactured hurt. "I was planning to give you proper notice next week," I clarified. "The house isn't available until November 1st, but today's events have accelerated my timeline." "You can't be serious," Stephen said. "Where are you going to stay until then?" "That is no longer any of your concern," I replied. "In truth, Nancy had offered her guest room. For a few days. My father's face was an alarming shade of red. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By sneaking around behind our backs and then storming out over a minor disagreement. Minor disagreement. I repeated, incredulous. You moved my children's belongings to an unsafe space without my knowledge or consent. You told them to their faces that they don't deserve the same comfort and consideration as their cousin. That is not minor, Dad. That is a fundamental statement about how you value them and me. Emma and Jack came back downstairs, backpacks on, small bags in hand. Emma clutched her clarinet case. Jack his favorite drawing supplies and the stuffed dragon he'd slept with since he was 3. We're ready, Mom, Emma said, her voice stronger than I had heard it in weeks. This is ridiculous, my mother declared. You can't seriously be leaving right now. We are, I confirmed. We'll come back tomorrow to get the rest of our things when everyone has had a chance to calm down. If you walk out that door, don't expect to be welcomed back with open arms, my father threatened. I looked at him sadly. I stopped expecting that a long time ago, Dad. Stephen stepped forward, suddenly realizing this was actually happening. Come on, sis. Let's talk about this rationally. There's no need to make a scene in front of the kids. My children have already been shown exactly where they stand in this family's hierarchy, I responded. There is nothing more to discuss tonight. I helped Jack and Emma put their bags in the car while my family watched from the porch, expressions ranging from anger to disbelief. They had been so certain of their power over me, so confident in my dependence, that they couldn't process the reality of my departure. As I started the car, my mother rushed to my window. Amanda, please, you're overreacting. Come back inside and we'll figure something out. We'll talk tomorrow, I said firmly, when I come to get our things. But where will you go? She asked, genuine concern finally breaking through her indignation. Somewhere where my children are valued, I answered simply and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I could see Jack and Emma looking back at the house that had been our home for nearly 2 years. Not with sadness, I realized, but with relief. Are we really moving to our own house? Jack asked cautiously. Almost, I told him. We have a house waiting for us, but we can't move in until next week. Tonight, we're staying with my friend Nancy from work. Is it because of what Grandpa and Grandma did? Emma asked. I chose my words carefully. It's because we deserve to live somewhere where everyone is treated with respect and kindness. I've been planning for us to move out for a while, but yes, what happened today made me realize we needed to leave sooner. I didn't like how they talked about us, Jack said quietly, like we weren't important. My heart broke a little at his words. You are both incredibly important, I assured them, and anyone who cannot see that does not deserve to have you in their lives. At Nancy's house, we were welcomed warmly. She'd prepared the guest room, even bought ice cream and rented a movie. As the twins settled in, picking at their treats, Nancy pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, she said simply. It takes courage to set boundaries with family. I just wish I had done it sooner, I admitted, before they hurt my kids like this. You're doing it now, she pointed out, and that's what matters. That night, as Jack and Emma slept beside me in the unfamiliar room, I felt a strange mix of emotions, sadness for what should have been, anger at how we'd been treated, anxiety about the future, but underneath it all, a powerful sense of peace. For the first time in years, I had stood up for myself and my children without wavering or second-guessing. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, watching my children sleep peacefully, I knew with absolute certainty that I had made the right decision. We were finally breaking free. The next morning, I called in a personal day. Nancy offered to let the twins stay, but I declined. They need to see this through, I explained. It's important for them to know we're doing this together. We arrived at my parents' house at 10 a.m. My father answered with a scowl that softened slightly when he saw the twins. Come to apologize for your tantrum? He asked me. No, I replied evenly. We've come to get our things. His face hardened. Your mother has been upset all night because of your dramatic exit. I'm sorry she's upset, I said. And I meant it. Despite everything, I didn't want to hurt them, but I needed to protect my children. But we are still moving out. He stepped aside reluctantly. My mother was in the living room, eyes red-rimmed. Stephen and Melissa were conspicuously absent. They took Ethan to the park, my mother replied. They thought it would be less stressful if they weren't here. At least they showed that much consideration. Jack, Emma, go pack up your room, I instructed. Remember what we talked about. Just pack what you need and love. We can replace the rest. As they headed upstairs, my mother turned to me. I can't believe you're doing this to us. I am not doing anything to you, I corrected her. I am doing something for my children and myself. We've given you everything, she insisted. A place to stay, help with the children, emotional support during your divorce. And I have been grateful, I acknowledged. But that does not mean my children should be treated as less valuable than Ethan. We never said that, she protested. You didn't have to say it, Mom. Your actions made it perfectly clear. My father joined us, pacing. This is about Stephen, isn't it? You've always been jealous of him. I shook my head. This is not about Stephen. This is about Jack and Emma being moved to an unsafe basement without my knowledge or consent. This is about you explicitly stating that Ethan deserves the better rooms simply because he is Stephen's son. You're twisting our words, my mother accused. Am I? You said, and I quote, our other grandson deserves the best rooms. What exactly did you mean by that, if not that my children deserve less? She had no answer. I went upstairs to help the twins. We made several trips to load everything into my car. My parents watched silently, the reality finally sinking in. When we had everything we wanted, I did a final walkthrough. In the kitchen, I found my mother making coffee, her movements mechanical. We're heading out now, I told her. She turned, eyes welling. I don't understand why you're doing this. We're family. Yes, we are, I agreed. And that is why this hurts so much. Family should make each other feel valued and respected. Jack and Emma haven't felt it here for a long time. That's not true, she protested weakly. Mom, yesterday you told them they didn't deserve the same quality of accommodations as their cousin. How do you think that made them feel? She looked away. We didn't mean it like that. How else could you have meant it? She had no answer. As we prepared to leave, my father made one last attempt. This is a mistake, Amanda. You're letting your pride get in the way of what's best for your children. No, Dad, I said, my voice strong. For the first time in a long time, I am putting what's best for my children ahead of everything else, including your approval. Jack and Emma said stilted goodbyes to their grandparents. I could see their conflict, having been taught to respect and love these people who had hurt them so casually. As we drove away, Emma asked, "Will we ever see Grandma and Grandpa again?" Yes, I assured her, but things will be different. We'll visit on our terms, when we are treated with respect. The next few days at Nancy's were peaceful. The twins seemed lighter, joking and playing in ways I hadn't seen in months. I took a day off to finalize details for our new home, getting the keys early. The house was small but perfect, 3 bedrooms, a tiny backyard, a kitchen with lots of natural light. It was in their school district, and my commute would actually be shorter. On Friday, we moved in. Nancy and several co-workers helped, turning a stressful day into a celebration. By evening, beds were set up, the kitchen functional. That night, after pizza, and the twins were asleep in their own rooms for the first time in nearly 2 years, I sat alone in my new living room and finally let myself cry. Not from sadness, but from relief, a bittersweet sense of accomplishment. My phone buzzed with messages from my parents, angry accusations to tearful pleas. I responded only once. We were safe, settled, and I would contact them when I was ready. The following Monday, my parents showed up unannounced at our new house. "How did you find our address?" I asked, inviting them in. "Your Aunt Susan told us," my father admitted. "She thought we should try to reconcile." I made them coffee, watching as they surveyed our modest but comfortable home. "It's smaller than I expected," my mother commented. "It's perfect for the three of us," I replied. "Amanda, we want you to come home," my father said. "This has gone on long enough." "This is our home now," I said firmly. "But the children need their grandparents," my mother insisted, "and their uncle and cousin." "What they need is to be treated with respect and love," I countered. "When you can provide that consistently, you are welcome to be part of their lives." "We have always loved them," my mother protested. "Love is not just a feeling, Mom. It is how you treat people. It is the choices you make that show what you truly value." They stayed for nearly an hour, cycling through guilt trips, appeals to family unity, and finally, a grudging acknowledgement. "We didn't realize how it looked from your perspective," my father conceded. "We just thought we were helping Stephen and Melissa through a difficult time." "And I understand that," I said, "but you helped them at the expense of my children's well-being and safety. That is something I cannot overlook." When they left, we had reached a tentative understanding. They would respect our new living situation, and we would visit for Sunday dinner in 2 weeks. It was a small step, but it was something. Over the next weeks, news of our departure spread. Most were supportive. Aunt Susan became a regular visitor, bringing cookies and genuine interest in the twins' lives. At work, I received an unexpected promotion to charge nurse, with a significant salary increase and more regular hours. Meanwhile, I heard Stephen and Melissa were struggling without my help. My mother, now in her 60s, was overwhelmed trying to keep up with an active baby while maintaining the house without my assistance. When we attended that Sunday dinner, the atmosphere was strained but civil. Stephen and Melissa were notably less smug, perhaps realizing my presence had made their lives easier in ways they'd taken for granted. Most importantly, Jack and Emma were happier than I'd seen them in years. Jack's teacher reported dramatic improvements. Emma was thriving in clarinet. One evening, as I tucked Emma into bed, she said something that confirmed everything. "I like our house, Mom," she said sleepily. "I feel like I can breathe here." Out of all the validation, my daughter's simple statement meant the most. We had created a home where my children could breathe freely, both literally and figuratively. That was worth everything. 6 months after leaving my parents' home, our lives had transformed. Our small rental was a true home, filled with laughter, art on the fridge, comfortable chaos. Jack and Emma blossomed, their confidence soaring. My promotion brought not just a better schedule and pay, but new responsibilities that fulfilled me professionally. For the first time in my adult life, I felt like I was thriving, not just surviving. Our relationship with my parents was cautiously cordial. My mother had slowly begun to acknowledge the favoritism, though my father still struggled. "I've been thinking a lot about last fall," my mother said during one of her visits. "I didn't realize how much we were hurting Jack and Emma." "What made you see it?" I asked, genuinely curious. She sighed, looking older. "After you left, nothing was the same. Stephen and Melissa stayed for another month, but without you I was overwhelmed. I realized how much you had been doing, how much I had taken you for granted. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd received, and I accepted it. Stephen and Melissa started arguing all the time," she continued, "about childcare, the renovation that never seemed to end money. They moved back to their house before Christmas, even though the work wasn't finished. I wasn't surprised. Without the buffer of my parents' constant approval and my practical support, their cracks had widened. They're in couples counseling," my mother admitted. "Melissa went back to work full-time, and they're struggling with childcare." I felt a twinge of sympathy. Parenting was challenging, and their relationship had never seemed built on the strongest foundation. But the most significant change was in my children. Jack's anxiety disappeared, his creativity re-emerged. He joined an after-school art program and thrived. Emma made advanced band, talking about soccer. One evening, as we worked on a puzzle, Emma asked, "Mom, why do you think Grandma and Grandpa treated us differently than Ethan?" I considered my response carefully. I think people sometimes have fixed ideas about others that make it hard for them to see clearly. Grandma and Grandpa always saw Uncle Stephen as special and deserving of extra attention. When he had Ethan, they transferred those feelings to him. "But we're their grandchildren, too," Jack pointed out. "Yes, you are," I agreed. "And they do love you. They just didn't know how to show it equally or fairly." "Is that why we left?" Emma asked. "Because they weren't fair." "We left because everyone deserves to be treated with respect and kindness," I explained. "When that wasn't happening, we needed to create our own space where we could all thrive." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "I like it better here anyway. At Grandma and Grandpa's house, I always felt like I was in the way." "You are never in the way here," I assured him. "This is your home, and you belong here exactly as you are." In April, an unexpected opportunity arose. A small, 3-bedroom house in our neighborhood went up for sale, priced just within my reach thanks to my promotion and careful saving. My offer was accepted. Becoming a homeowner had been a distant dream. Now, less than a year later, it was reality. The house needed cosmetic updates, but was structurally sound and in a great location. Most importantly, it would be ours. When I shared the news, their excitement was contagious. They immediately started planning their rooms. "Can we get a dog once we move in?" Jack asked hopefully. "We'll see," I replied, warming to the idea. A dog would complete our little family in many ways. The process of buying the house brought my father back into our lives in an unexpected way. Despite our still strained relationship, he had experience with home buying and offered to look over the inspection report. "The roof has at least 5 years left," he said as we sat at my kitchen table, "but you'll want to budget for replacing the water heater sooner rather than later." His practical advice was helpful, and I appreciated that he was making an effort to support me without controlling or criticizing. It was a small but significant shift. "I'm proud of you, Amanda," he said unexpectedly as he was leaving. "Buying a house on your own is no small accomplishment." The words I had longed to hear for most of my life caught me off guard. "Thank you, Dad, I managed." "I know I haven't always been fair," he continued haltingly. "Your mother and I have been talking a lot about how we handled things. I can't change the past, but I'd like to do better going forward." It wasn't a full apology, but coming from my proud, stubborn father, it was monumental. "I would like that too," I told him honestly. The day we closed on the house, Jack and Emma were at school. I signed the papers alone, but took a photo of the keys. As I stood in the empty living room of our new house, my house, I felt a surge of emotions so powerful it brought tears to my eyes. 2 years ago, I had been a newly divorced mother, uncertain, dependent on my parents' conditional support. Now I was a homeowner advancing in my career and, most importantly, providing my children with the stable, loving home they deserved. The journey had been painful, forcing me to confront hard truths about my family and myself. I had to learn that setting boundaries was not selfish but necessary, that standing up for my children meant sometimes walking away from toxic situations, and that my worth was not determined by others' perceptions. We moved into our new home on a sunny Saturday in May with help from friends, colleagues, and yes, even my parents. The atmosphere was celebratory. By evening, when only my parents remained, we sat together on my new back porch, watching Jack and Emma explore the yard. "This is a good home," my mother said quietly. "You have done well, Amanda." "Thank you," I replied, accepting the compliment without qualification or doubt. As the sun set on our first day in our new home, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The pain of that October day, when my children had been deemed less worthy than their cousin, had transformed into the catalyst for positive change. Sometimes the greatest betrayals lead to the most necessary departures. What had seemed like an ending, the day we packed our bags and left my parents' house, had actually been a beginning of self-respect, of true independence, of showing my children what it meant to stand up for yourself and for those you love. Family, I had learned, was not just about blood or obligation. It was about mutual respect, consistent kindness, and the choice to value each person for who they truly were. My children and I had created our own family unit, strong and supportive, and we had opened our circle to include those who treated us with the dignity we deserved. As I tucked the twins into bed that night in their very own rooms, in our very own house, I felt a deep sense of peace. We had come through the storm and found ourselves on solid ground at last.